So if you're unfamiliar with the People's Resource Center, we are a nonprofit serving residents of DuPage County. We offer a variety of different services to DuPage County residents. We have our food pantry, which both at our Wheaton and Westmont locations. It's open a few times throughout the week, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the evening. We try to accommodate everybody's schedules. It is a curbside pickup model currently, where you just pull up your car, we bring the food out to you, we load it up, and then you're on your way. It's safe and no contact touch. We are in the process of looking to kind of go back to normal operations sometime in early 2022, so where you can actually come into the food pantry and pick up the items that you want. We do have a variety of empowerment programs, so our adult learning and literacy, our computer training and access, and our job assistance, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. All those programs are continuing to be virtual at the moment, but again, if you always say check out our website, we update that constantly with our programming as it changes, as we revert back to some in-person programming. Check out our website. That's the best way to get the most up-to-date information. We also have a social services department. So if you need help with rental assistance or applying for government benefits, or even if you're just looking to find options for car repair, social services can help you with all of those different things, and they are taking in-person appointments, in-person discussions by appointment only. So a little bit about our job assistance program. So we want to first preference that this program is free to PRC clients. So we don't charge you for anything. We offer a couple different services for job seekers. So we offer one-to-one coaching, which is individualized mentoring. So each client is assigned a job coach, and that job coach really just supports you in any part of the job search that you need help with. So if you just need to know how to apply for jobs online and fill out applications, they can walk you through and even sit you down and help you apply for jobs together. They can go through different interview techniques. They can help you answer tough interview questions. We'll actually talk about a couple of those today, just in identifying skills and accomplishments, because it does kind of tie to the interviewing piece of the job search. They can, we actually have a great resume team that can help you either update your resume or create a resume from scratch, depending on what you need. And they can also help you with your cover letter as well. We also have a lot of these workshops. If you've attended these workshops before, or you know, you're just looking to get more information about specific pieces of the job search, we have a lot of our workshops are on our website. We record them and post them on our YouTube pages, and a lot of the libraries that we partner with, they record the workshops and post those. So you have a lot of access to some different types of workshops. We do a great one on LinkedIn. We do a great one on interviewing. We just created one on people looking to change their careers, so we kind of talk through how to switch from one career to another. We also have a Prc Job Board. So part of my job as the director is to connect with hiring employers throughout DuPage County. They send me their open positions, which I post on the job board. So our job board features positions from a wide range of industries and skill levels. So it's not just entry-level positions. There's some direct service coordinator positions, service positions. I actually just posted on there last week. They're looking for a founding director for an organization that's looking to start a new nonprofit. So lots of different options. So and I probably put anywhere from 5 to 10 new jobs on there per week, depending on which employers reach out to me. So and this is free to access if you're a PRC client. So today we're going to be talking about identifying skills and accomplishments. So the goal of today's session is to help you put your best foot forward and present yourself in the best possible light. We want you to better prepare for you to tell your story, including your work history, skills and traits, key accomplishments, and what makes you unique versus other candidates. And finally, we want you to leave this presentation filled with confidence in being able to identify your skills and abilities. One of the first things you want to do in your job search is to identify your accomplishments. It takes a little homework and some self-assessment, but once you do it, you'll be ready to add to your story. Just always a quick thing, we like to preface this at the beginning. Always remember that, when you're looking at your resume, you're talking about your job duties. Your job duties and responsibilities at your job are not your accomplishments. Those are simply what you do. It's not what you've accomplished in your job. So we're gonna kind of talk about 4 key components today. So information gathering, preparing your story, matching your skills to the position that you're interested in, and then finally putting it all together to go through a successful job search and interview. So here are some examples of goals for your daily and weekly action plans. So we're going to talk a lot about you taking ownership of your job search and creating daily and weekly action plans for what you can do to help prepare for when you're applying for a job, but also help you prepare for the interviews when you find a job that's a good fit for you. So typically nowadays, a lot of organizations are going to put you through multiple interviews. So you'll probably start with the phone screen, and that's not done over video. It's just done over the phone. But usually for a second round, they'll put you. I think these Zoom interviews are not going away. It's going to be something that we're going to see long after the pandemic is over. It's just easy and more convenient for people to do more interviews in a shorter period of time when they just have people over Zoom. But usually when you get to the last stage of the interview, a lot of times you are going to be doing that in person. So we're going to kind of help you, walk through and prepare for all those different interview steps. So information gathering is probably the most critical part of preparing for your job search, because as you can see, it sets the stage for several important activities. It's your chance to gather all of the personal information, accomplishments, skills, and recognition that uniquely defines you. Don't forget about your volunteer work, affiliations, church or professional organizations that you're a part of. That's really important. A lot of times we don't really think of, adding things to our resume or adding, or talking through, some of the things that we do in our personal life, not just your job duties. If you're volunteering for a church or you're part of a civic organization, but these are still accomplishments, and these are still, you're usually doing things that helps you build certain skills. So if information gathering is done well and comprehensively upfront, it's going to save you a lot of valuable time later. In written form, it becomes the fuel for your resume, your applications, your cover letter, and your thank you notes. Verbally, it fuels job search activities like attending job fairs and networking. One thing I will note is PRC is hoping to do another job fair in March, so in 5 months, which I feel is going to come up really quickly. So that's going to be a really good opportunity if you're going to want to meet a lot of different employers and practice your 30-second elevator pitch. Our job fair would be a great opportunity for you to do that. So in interviews, it builds sharpness and confidence and leads to succinct, positive answers to interview questions like, tell me about yourself, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, or what are your qualifications for this position? So information gathering is really important. The first thing you're going to do in the information gathering stage is to collect all of the details and facts about you. A job application is a form that contains basic information which an employer will use to learn more about you and retain for company records. It is a legal document since you are required to sign it, verifying that all of the information is correct. Don't take the chance. Falsifying information may result in the offer being pulled. Although most applications will be filled out and submitted online, we recommend using a paper copy of the form to first gather all of the necessary information you need. You want to avoid discovering during the middle of an online job application that you don't have all the information that's required. And one thing to note too, you are, a lot of times you're going to be applying for jobs online. And if the job is using an applicant tracking system, you have to create a username and password to apply for a job, because you have to apply through that tracking system, that computer program. So even if you run into a situation where you don't have all the information, a lot of times you can actually save your application, go and gather that information, and then come back, a day or two later and complete the application. So it's not the end of the world if you don't have everything you need. Every job application asks for different information, but usually, just the very basics. It's always going to ask for your personal information, your previous employment, your education history, your certification, and most employers, especially if it's for like a management level job, are going to ask for personal references as well. One thing to note, Illinois companies will no longer be able to ask job applicants for their previous employers about their salary history. So unless it's a government job, Illinois, if you're applying for a job in Illinois, they cannot ask you what your salary history is. So just really want to talk about ONET Online. So this is a free government website. I'll actually send the link, Leslie, I'll send this link over to you when I'm done. There's going to be a couple worksheets and website links that I'm going to send to everybody. If you've not heard of ONET Online, it's a government website that's a really comprehensive website to it's a great place to start for your job search. It contains a lot of information about a variety of different industries that are currently in high demand, what skills and qualifications you need to get a job in those industries. And there's also a section where if you are really just trying to see what jobs might be a good fit for your skills and accomplishments, there's a section where you can kind of like take a little test, and then it'll churn out some jobs that are in high demand that might be a good fit for you. So we do like a whole presentation on ONET online, but I'm going to go ahead and just send the link over to you when you're done. So it's a good way to just kind of explore the website and see how this could be a good fit for you as you search for a new job. So filling out a job application is generally the easy part. Where most people struggle is in telling the story, their accomplishments, skills, and recognition. Most people naturally have a hard time tooting their own horn, but if you don't toot your own horn, who's going to do it for you? So talking about ourselves is really hard because we don't want to brag. We want to come across as genuine. So this is really a hard thing for people to do. So we're going to use these three tools. These are the three tools that we're really going to be talking about over the next 30 minutes to help you tell your story. So we're going to start with power statements, SARS, which is situation, action, result. And then we're going to talk about the equivocal, elevator pitch or me in 30 seconds. We're going to discuss each one of these a little bit more in detail. So we're going to start with power statements. A power statement is designed to communicate important information about you in a short amount of time. The power statement emphasizes the value that you can bring to an organization. Highlight a strength you have and show how you've used that strength to achieve results. So use the following steps to develop power statements. So you want to start by identifying a value, skill, strength, or accomplishment you want to highlight that relates to your employment objective. Give a specific example of that skill. Show the result of your skill. If you have, if you have access to like data, percentages, or dollar amounts, sometimes it's good to have a tangible figure that you can place, showcasing the result of something that you did on the job. That's always good to come prepared with those figures. Make sure your statement is consistent with the needs and the goals of the organization. So what you want to do is make sure that you're not doing a power statement or talking about a skill or an accomplishment you've had that is totally unrelated to the position in which you're applying. Power statements highlight key accomplishments and have dramatic impact. As you develop power statements about yourself, think about them as statements of fact. If you write a good power statement and practice them until you feel at ease in saying them, your tone will sound informative rather than boastful or like you're bragging. So I think the key component here is practice makes perfect. So a lot of times you really have to prepare for an interview. You can't just go into an interview and just kind of talk off the cuff, because if you do that, if you don't practice, talking about yourself in a real clear and succinct manner, you can trail off, you can ramble, you can be really long-winded, because if you don't have time to kind of put everything into context, and you're answering a question and you're kind of getting off kilter, and your answer takes 3 minutes. Employers, it's really going to show employers that you're not really prepared, and that maybe that you're not taking this job interview seriously. So it's really, really important to practice. So how do you answer this question? It says a lot about you and an extremely important hurdle to get over the interview. But don't be nervous. So be brief, honest, positive, and thoughtful with your response. So you want to take accountability, don't hold grudges, and look forward with positivity, not back with regret or bitterness. So if you had a bad experience with an employer or a bad experience with an employee, you don't want to talk about those experiences in your interview with bitterness. You want to talk about how you handled that challenging situation and how you resolved it. We'll talk a little bit about that with the SARS statements as well. So when we talk about power statements, these are some good examples that I want to talk about. So a lot of times on a resume, you'll see somebody put, or in a cover letter or resume, that you're proficient in Microsoft Excel or Word. That's a very basic statement, but if you have a way to kind of spice that up, this is a really good opportunity. We actually do have a Microsoft Office certification with PRC that you can get for free if you're a PRC client. But if your job requires computer skills or experience in Microsoft Office, this would be a really good thing for you to pursue. to make you stand out in a crowded field of applicants. So instead of just saying, I'm proficient in Microsoft Excel or Word, I received my Microsoft Office certification from PRC. And the Microsoft Office certification is given through Microsoft. So that basically certifies you as somebody that is really knowledgeable in Microsoft Excel and Word. So that's one way to stand out. I've been told I'm a team player. That's a very generic statement, but if you can back that up with some specific examples. So here they said, my team of 6 received the President's Top Department Performance Award in 2019. So basically, by saying that your team received this prestigious award, that's sort of proof that you're backing up the statement that you're a team player. So a good way to start this, and we talk a little bit about this later, is you might want to write down some of the skills and accomplishments that you have, or some of the things that you feel would make you stand out, and then look back at those statements and see if there's a tangible way that you can prove those statements to be true when you're talking to an employer. So these are just a few skills and traits that you can kind of keep in. So when you're talking about, when you're making a list of all the things that you feel that you do really well, especially in a work environment, these are just some examples of what those can be. So power statements sound an awful like accomplishment statements that go on your resume, right? But the resume is just one of the ways that you'll use this information gathering and self-assessment that we're doing now. So yes, you might put some of these on your resumes, but you're also going to be talking through these more in your cover letter and in your interviews as well. So there's one thing to watch out for in resume writing that I want to highlight before we move on. Take care not to just list the duties of your previous jobs. You want to turn those accomplishment statements. You want to turn those into accomplishment statements. So avoid using this job duty. Say for example, you say I worked in a call center and answered phones. So it's a very generic statement about something that one of your job duties if you worked in the call center. So the way to turn that into an accomplishment would be to say, I quickly responded to customer needs by answering 99% of incoming calls before 3 rings. Or I created a new program in the call center which reduced drop calls by 25%. So that sounds a lot better than just saying I worked in the call center and answered phones. It provided some specific data as to how well you accomplished that task. So let's try another power statement together. I reorganized the way office supplies are purchased by the company, combining individual department purchases into a single organization-wide order, saving time and reducing expenditures by 10%. So in order to do that, what skills or traits help to accomplish this? So you can reference a list of skills and traits on the next page. So this is a different workbook, which I have a blank version of this, which I'm going to send out to everybody in an email after that, along with some of the websites that we discussed. So this is just something, it's a tool that you can use when you're really trying to think about some of the accomplishments that you've had in your previous jobs and what skills and traits you needed to accomplish those. So we talked about that specific accomplishment. So you might say that the skills needed to be successful in that job duty. You need to be resourceful. You need to be organized. You need to be a team player. You need to be analytical. So those are all the different skills that are tied to that specific job accomplishment. So this is just an example of the workbook that I'll be sending out. So now I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about the SAR approach. So we talked about power statements. So the SARs, as we said before, stands for situation, action, and results. It describes a business-related situation and how the actions you undertook led to a positive, quantifiable result. So you've probably heard this before, but people also use the term STAR, which stands for situation, task, action, and result. It's kind of the same thing. This one's just in 3 steps instead of 4. I think it makes it a little bit easier. Just a quick reminder. So if you have if you won Employee of the Month, or you've ever gotten any certificates through your job, any professional development, it's always a good idea to save those and bring those along with your interview as well, because you never know, when a question comes up and you're talking about an accomplishment, if you have something to back that up, it's always really great to kind of pull out a certification or something to hand to employers, to show that you've gone above and beyond on a specific job duty. So I know some of those, we get them in paper and we just kind of file them away, but if you feel that you have some of those, it'd be good to kind of dig those out and make sure that you keep those with you. So these are just a couple different examples of some STAR statements. So I'm just going to go ahead and read those just so you can kind of hear, what that sounds like if you're being interviewed, how that answer would come across for an interview question. So there was a disagreement I had with a coworker, which originated from a miscommunication. To keep our work environment professional and positive, we had to discuss it and make amends. I sat down with them one day during lunch, paid for our meal, and took initiative by apologizing for my part in the whole ordeal. Now we work well together and are often praised for our impressive teamwork. So the situation here was the coworker and this person had a disagreement. The action was the person decided to proactively reach out to the coworker, sit down with them over coffee, sit down over lunch, and take ownership in the miscommunication. And as a result of him taking ownership of this and reaching out to that employee he had a disagreement with, the employee forgave him, and now they work really well together, and they're praised for their impressive teamwork. So this is just a quick, and this is, we talk about keeping your answers to, between 30 seconds to a minute. If you, have a situation similar to this and you kind of practice answering that interview question, this is something that you can explain very clearly and succinctly in about, 15 to 20 seconds. So another example, at my restaurant, I once found out mere hours in advance about a health inspection. As the head chef, I was in charge of making sure everything was in order in the kitchen and the back of house before the inspector arrived. I quickly called in employees from the last shift to help out, leaving the others available to prep for that evening's dinner. As a result, we were able to ace the inspection. So situation here was they found out last minute about a health inspection. This person was the head chef, so they were in charge of making sure the inspection was a success. So once they figured out the issue, they concocted a solution by making sure that the people were prepping the kitchen for dinner, but also calling back the employees that just left to make sure that they were able to come in and make sure the health inspection was a success. And the result of him kind of pulling everybody together as a team, they were able to complete the inspection. So again, you don't want to go too much into detail. So that's why these things especially are really important to practice, because you don't want to get into the too nitty gritty. You don't need to give a whole bunch of backstory. For the first one, you don't need to go into, you don't even need to explain what that miscommunication was. You can be brief and succinct and just make it, short and to the point. So this is another workbook that I'll hand out after the workshop. So this is a good way for you to think of some STAR statements on your own and help you kind of put everything together for a 4 or 5 sentence STAR statement. So want to talk a little bit about the me in 30 seconds. So the most common interview question that you're going to get is right at usually with the first interview. Every time that you meet with a new person, they're always going to ask you the same question. Tell me about yourself, or tell me something that's not on your resume. This is sort of going to be your elevator pitch. So the elevator pitch is a brief, persuasive speech that you use to spark interest in what you do. A good elevator pitch should last no shorter than a short elevator ride of 30 to 40 seconds, hence the name. So the idea behind this is if you walk into an elevator and you see somebody that works for a company that you want to work for, and you have 30 seconds to sell yourself, this is why it's really important to be really good at kind of speaking about your skills and accomplishments in a clear and concise manner. So the first thing you want to do is tailor your message to the interviewer. Don't focus on what's best for you. You want to focus on what you're going to do to fulfill the needs of the company that you're interviewing with. So your 30-second elevator pitch shouldn't really, you don't want to add any fluff. You shouldn't be, saying, hi, my name is so-and-so. My interests include, long walks on the beach, hiking, things like that. You don't want to include a lot of personal information in your elevator pitch. You really just want to speak about what your skills are, what you've accomplished, and how you can adapt those skills and accomplishments to be successful in the job that you're interested in. So you want to begin by talking about your past experiences and proven success. Then you want to mention your strengths and abilities. And then you want to conclude how your strengths and abilities are going to tie into that that current open position that would make you a good candidate for that open role. So these are just a couple of examples of some 30-second elevator pitches. So I won't read all three, but I'll go ahead and just read one just so you can kind of see how that comes across on the tongue. I'm an experienced front office administrator with over 25 years of experience as a legal secretary and customer service professional. I'm currently in search of the next opportunity to utilize my broad administrative and strong interpersonal skills in a customer service role. I'm both confident and compassionate, a self-starter who will quickly become a productive member of your team. And I can even send, I'll send some examples of some these elevator pitches in the email I send out afterwards. And these three are actually real examples. So if you're kind of seeing all these things that we're talking about and you're getting nervous, saying like this is going to be something that I might have some difficulty in, I want to shamelessly promote the Prc Job Assistance Program. Our job coaches are experts in helping our clients come up with all of this. So they can help you develop a 30-second elevator speech. They can talk through some different situation, action, and results statements that you can use. Our job coaches are really great with this. We do a lot of training with them. So these are just some examples of what job coaches have come up with for their clients, and they can come up with something similar for you. So and we'll talk a little bit at the end about how to become a PRC client if you are interested. But basically, you don't have to go through this alone. It can be really daunting to spend so much time just trying to go through all your work history and then be able to develop these statements where you have to talk about yourselves in a short period of time. So there's help out there. That's just another example of the workbook that I'll be sending out to you afterwards. So knowing the answers to the first 2 points is essential before applying for a job. If the position is not a fit for you, save yourself some time by finding another match-worthy position. So what's really important here is you want to make sure when you're starting your job search that you're not applying for jobs that aren't a good fit for your skill set. So it's a waste of your time because there's a high probability that you're not even going to be getting a call for a phone screen if you're not going to be a good fit for the role. And it's a time waster. I mean, to apply for a job, it can take 45 minutes sometimes, especially if you're having to, add in your work history and all that stuff. If you're not just sending over a resume and cover letter, you have to add everything into the job applicant tracking system when you apply for jobs. It's a waste of time. So you really want to make sure that, once you know what your skills and accomplishments are, that you tie those directly to a job that you might be a good fit for. I think, and they make applying for jobs super easy nowadays. With like the ZipRecruiter, it's like the one-click apply. You want to avoid those at all costs. You really want to just apply it. If you're going to apply for a job, you want to apply for that job well. You want to make sure that your resume is matched up to the skills or job duties in that job posting. You want to make sure that you have a tailored cover letter. You want to take the time to apply for the job correctly. So, and we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like. So, some examples here. If you look under the first column, there's the job key requirements that you found in the job posting. And then you want to make sure that you match your skills and experiences directly to what's being asked in that job posting. So these are just a couple different examples. A lot of times you'll see a job description or the skills and requirements. The employee might say must be proficient at using Microsoft Office applications. So you want to make sure that either your resume or your cover letter mentions that. That's going to show that you're qualified for the position. And if you're applying through an applicant tracking system, that program is going to scan the job requirements, and then it's going to scan your resume and cover letter, and it's going to be able to pick out the keywords. So if you don't have those keywords in your resume or cover letter, the applicant tracking system isn't even going to pass your resume along to a hiring manager. So there won't even be any human eyes that actually get a chance to look at it. So this part, when I say about applying for a job and taking the time to apply for a job right, you really have to take the time to make sure that you're matching your skills and experiences to the job requirements. So there's actually there's a great website that helps you do that for free called TagCrowd. So it's TAGCROWD. And basically what you do is you just copy and paste. So basically the website is really simple. You just copy and paste the job description, and you copy and paste your resume and cover letter all into like one little box. And then what TagCrowd does is it scans the job description and your resume and cover letter, and it spits back all of the different phrases or words that are highlighted in both the job description and your resume. So you'll be able to see, like, the job description, it might say like teamwork like 5 or 6 different times. So you know that you have to be a team player in order to be a good fit for this position. So you would then have to go back and look at your resume and say, hey, I only have teamwork in my cover letter once. I might really want to spend some time to make sure I talk through what makes me a team player. So it's a really, really useful website, and it's free. I will actually, again, in the email I send, I will put a link to that website as well. So again, just this is what the workbook looks like. We used to, as a background, we used to do this workshop a lot in person. So we always like to take a few minutes and work together as a group for everybody to kind of write down their skills and experience and come up with their own 30-second elevator pitches and STAR statements. So it's really hard to do virtual, which is why we have so many slides with blank workbooks. So we want to make sure that we send these out to everybody afterwards. So finally, we really want to take some time to talk about some power words that really help you stand out and make you unique. So when an employer invites you in for an interview, they've already looked at your resume and cover letter, and they've decided that you possess the basic skills, knowledge, and experience necessary for the job. So now what you want to do is make sure that you stand out in the crowded pool of equally qualified applicants. So many interviewers ask questions such as, why should I hire you? Or what skills or experience are you going to bring to this job? So this is your chance to really establish yourself as an asset versus an expense. You want to make sure that they're going to be hiring a person that they're just not going to have to let go in 3 months, or they're going to have to spend a lot of money, training them on skills or things that they should already possess. So this is really want to spend the time to sell yourself and use these power words. So your answer should focus on the most important qualifications for the role and the qualities that distinguish you from other talented and knowledgeable candidates. So beware of using words that do not separate you from everyone else. So words like qualified, everybody uses the word qualified. You want to make sure that you use other words. And a great way to do this is if you're seeing a generic word that you feel like you would commonly use in answering an interview questions. Just Google it. You can Google synonyms for qualified, or Google synonyms for organized. That's a great way for you. Usually it'll come back with like 15 or 16 different words, and you can kind of go through those and say, yeah, this word sounds a lot better than qualified. So we give you a couple examples here on this page. Instead of saying I'm an honest person, I'm an ethical person, I'm trustworthy. Instead of just saying I'm customer oriented, I'm customer focused, and provide some specific examples. Everybody says that they're a hard worker. So I'm a hard worker that goes the extra mile. I'm resourceful. I'm able to do more with less, and give some specific examples. So these are just some different ways to sort of supercharge the words that you're using, not only in your resume and cover letter, but when you're going through the interview as well. So I think one thing to note is especially nowadays with the job market and the way that it is, job seekers have a lot of power right now. Employers need people to fill these positions. There's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of people leaving the workforce. Employers are desperate to fill these roles. So you have a lot of power, going into the interview. And we even do a great, I think, really topical workshop on negotiating the job offer, where we can talk about how you negotiate your salary, negotiating your benefits, your paid time off, all of that stuff. You have a lot of power right now. So, you don't need the employer needs you, and you should use that to your advantage. Every interviewer wants you to make it easy for them, and sometimes you have to spell it out. Tell them why you're different, better, and safer to hire. You have control over your answers and your interview goals and agendas. So go into an interview with a goal of communicating a minimum of 3 things that make you uniquely qualified for the job. So when asked, tell me about yourself, you introduce them as part of your elevator pitch. Then use them as your answer questions throughout the interview. Finally, most importantly, don't forget to use them in a strong closing statement. It's perfectly okay to ask for the job at the end of the interview. And I feel like sometimes we think that comes across as cocky or rude. But I've interviewed a lot of people in my day, and sometimes after an hour interview, maybe the employer feels that this candidate is not a good fit, but it's just the opposite too. I mean, if you go into an interview and you're meeting with the hiring manager, or you're learning about the company, and you're like, hey, maybe this isn't going to be a good fit for me. This is not a good fit for my personality or the things that I want to accomplish. It's perfectly okay for you to be for you to feel that this company is not a good fit for you. But as an employer, sometimes if I feel this person is potentially a great fit for the organization, I want to know that they're feeling the same way. So I think it's perfectly okay for after a job interview, if you're really excited about the role, just say that. Say, hey, I'm really excited about this position. I think this is going to be a really good fit for my skills and accomplishments. I'd highly consider, if offered this position, I'd highly consider it. That's all you have to say. You don't have to come across as I want this job, or you don't have to use really direct statements like that. But if you're interested in the job, you should make sure to let the employer know that. So. So by now, hopefully it should be clear how important it is to gather all of your personal information, accomplishments, skills, and recognition up front. So get it all down on paper once. If you keep a notebook or keep a folder with all your certifications, all these different, I think I like these workbooks, these things that I'm going to share with you. It's a really easy way to kind of keep all of your thoughts in order, and it's a great thing to reference back to when you're practicing your elevator pitch, or just practicing how to answer these statements for an interview. Just make sure that you have all of your stuff together. And even, like I said, the stuff for the interviews, like, I know when I was applying for jobs way back when, I'd apply for 2-3 jobs a day, 4 or 5 nights a week. Even something as simple as like, your previous employer's address. I would never save all my information, so then I'd have to go back and I'd have to Google the address again and write everything down. It's good to just kind of keep everything all together. It saves time for you. It just makes things easier. And searching for a job is stressful enough. So just kind of as we close, just want to go over some best practices for interviewing. I think a lot of these are obvious, but being on time. We all know that we should be on time for a job interview, but you also want to make sure that you do your research beforehand. Especially if you have a job interview early in the morning, or even like an end of the day job interview at like 4 p.m. That could be during rush hour. You want to make sure that you plan for that, so you don't show up 15-20 minutes late. Always make sure that you know where the business is located. If it's in an office building and there's lots of different suites, you want to make sure that you get there early, so you're not running around trying to find the place of the interview. And that's happened to a couple people that I interviewed. They'd show up late, or they'd say they got lost. And it's like, well, that shows me that you weren't prepared, that you didn't plan for this, accordingly. And that's, not a good way to make a first impression. Be positive and confident. We talked about, when you're talking about yourself, you have to sound confident, because that's, if you're talking about yourself and you're not making direct eye contact, you're soft spoken, that shows the employer that you're not confident in your own skills and abilities. So that's something that you really want to try to practice. Dress for success. That goes without saying. Always overdress. Even if the company has a casual dress code, that doesn't mean you need to show up to an interview in casual dress. You should always always overdress. That's always going to make you look better. And you just show up and you realize that you're underdressed. There's nothing you can do about it at that point. So talked about being, speaking clearly, being succinct, and being respectful of your contact's time. So if your interview is scheduled for an hour and They give you 10 minutes to ask questions at the end. Just make sure that you have enough questions that take around 10 minutes. So if you have, it's always good to have, we should always have questions at the end of the interview. You shouldn't just say, okay, thank you, I don't have any questions. You should always have questions prepared, but you also don't want to ask so many questions where the interview is going an hour and a half over, because that can annoy an employer as well, because they might have other things to do after the interview, and you don't want to be the reason that they're going to be late getting home that night. So, but obviously, sometimes if I would say, like, gauge your audience. If you and the employer are going back and forth and they seem very interested in you and they're asking you follow-up questions, even after the time's over, you just have to know to play your audience. But if you keep asking questions, they're answering it, but they're not going back and forth and asking you follow-up questions, then if the interview time is up, that's a good way to end it. Just want to pause real quick. If you are interested in becoming a PRC client, there's a couple different ways that you can apply. The first one is to call the 630-682-5402 extension 333 number. You leave your name and your number and just say, I'm interested in becoming a jobs client. I have an administrative assistant that checks the voicemail, usually every day at least. And if she sees a voicemail though, she'll call that person back. They'll do a quick intake form with you and they'll get you registered for our next orientation. All of our orientations are done over Zoom. They are an hour and a half long on Tuesday and Wednesday. So it's a 2-day orientation, 3 total hours. If you can't make one day, we work with you to get you all the information that you need, but we do recommend that you attend both days as a requirement, just to kind of make you understand, what services we can offer you and what your job coach can do for you. Again, as a reminder, we offer one-on-one individualized job coaching. They can help you with applications, interview techniques, strategy for your job search, making sure that you're job ready, that you're confident in your interviewing skills. And then we have a team that can help you with your resume and cover letters as well. If you want to go to our website and see what other services we offer, all of our services, and not just our job assistance program, all of our services are free to PRC clients. You just go to peoplesrc.org. Top left-hand corner is services. It'll walk you through all the different services that PRC offers. If you do go to job assistance, it'll give you some more information about our jobs program. Under how to get started, it'll give you that 333 number again, but there'll also be a little link that says click here. That'll send you over to a Google form. It's just a quick, 2-3 minute form that just gets your basic information. That is sent once you hit submit, that goes directly to our administrative team. They see that you filled out the form, they'll call you, go over the intake form, and register you for an orientation. So kind of 2 different ways to apply based on whatever method is most comfortable for you. So yeah, that is just about it. So I want to see if anybody has any questions.